And we are live. Welcome, everybody. I'm super excited today. I am bringing you a special guest, Amit, and Amit, all the way from Chicago. He has not only just lost 12 pounds, not only just lost 5 inches, but he's gone from pre-diabetic levels to now being at normal diabetic levels. He's much more fitter and he's much more energized. And so, welcome, Amit. And how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks, Nicole. Nice to be here.
Yeah. So tell us firstly a bit about yourself as and what's your high level background so people understand who you are.
Yeah, so I'm in my 40s, just turned 44 about a month ago. I live in Chicago, and as you can tell, the winters are cold, so there's a lot of indoors, lack of outdoor activity, you can quickly slide into very bad habits when you're indoors a lot. And I work in as a consultant, so travel plus a lot of kind of desk work. Overall, I've always been lean, just physically, I'm 6 foot, lean kind of guy. I like to play sports, but with age and stuff, obviously, some things I can't do as I used to when I was younger. But overall, fairly active. I think one of the big shocks I had 6 months back was when I went to my primary care physician, and he happened to measure my A1C levels and said, "Oh, I'm at a pre-diabetic level," which I'd never ever thought would happen to me. And so that was kind of a big driver to jump into to really taking fitness seriously.
Yeah. And then you said that you've already been like healthy, fit, you've been doing things. So like what do you think were the biggest problems you were dealing with before working with me?
I think two things, right? One is, yeah, I did fitness, I hit the gym a lot, but it went through waves of motivation, right? There'd be waves where I'm really committed for 5 months, and then there was the consistency wasn't there. So that was one. The second thing is form and technique. I uh, was finding at least the last year as I would work out on myself by myself is injuries, wrist hurting or especially the joints, knees after doing lunges. And I, I thought I kind of knew that, yeah, maybe I wasn't doing certain things in form, but there was maybe not a good course correction or way to self-assess, hey, what do I need to do differently? At the same time, I was adding more weight. So I think there was a lack of understanding of the science as well on form and technique. So injuries plus a lack of waves of, let's say, motivation were happening.
Okay, cool. So yeah, motivation and injury prone. And what would you say you love the most about this coaching and why do you think it worked well for you?
I think for this one, I think the way it started, if you remember, was the 10-day challenge, which Nicole did, and
Yeah.
it was a summer challenge of starting with 10,000 steps a day, drinking 3 liters of water, and there was a couple of other things. But I think what that taught me is the importance of measurement. So even as simple as saying, "Hey, I'm going to walk 10,000 steps," going and buying a little Fitbit to measure that, or using your iPhone or smartwatch, and then measuring three liters of water. That changed the way I view fitness, which is measuring it. Because when you measure things, it makes it present. You're tracking it on a daily basis, and even if you measure it, let's say 90% of the times, it's better than 0%. And so there's a consistency. It reminds me. So that was one. And then from there, I think the big things that I really got, one was obviously there's a community that you have. There's a little group that's posting, and there's kind of this encouragement. So I'm not doing this on my own. And that's I think a big thing that I think we as guys, at least, we tend to go to the gym on our own, and sometimes it having other partners or people that are doing it can create that motivational factor. And then third, I think the biggest thing for me was the quality of the reps. So i.e., especially going against gravity and doing the slower motions, the 3010, the 3010 tempo. For me, that was a big thing because sometimes I had a tendency to rush through my sets, and that's where the injury was coming from. So now it was like lowering the weights, taking my time, and I would obviously, you're in London, I'm here, but recording those, watching myself, and being like, oh, that set I rushed through it, and I know I'm going to get some feedback from Nicole, so better do it again properly. And I think that iteration of that has now wired my brain to be like every set I do, just take my time. And lastly, I think initially I was also feeling like sometimes I have, work and I'm busy. So I used to rush to the gym. Now it's like I'll find the time and say, no, let's take the time in the gym, but also enjoying my time there. So I use it more than just physical fitness. I use that for my mental fitness as well. Take my time, you know, uh, listen to maybe motivational stuff, but also just kind of amping up, taking that time for myself as well. So I think that's been a big change in before. Before it was like a chore. I got to go work out, but now it's like, hey, this is a great, enjoyable experience. It's hard still because some of the sets are hard,
Yeah.
and at the same time, it's an enjoyment.
Yeah, that's key. The last point which you said, which is, this isn't just physical health, but also mental health, and using it as for me time. It is moving meditation at the end of the day, especially with the tempo training which we do. You
Yeah.
focus purely on that in that moment, right? Yeah. And what would you say are the biggest results that you've achieved, as in not just tangible results, but also intangible results?
Yeah, I mean, tangible, you kind of mentioned it, 12 pounds, A1C levels dropping to regular range, uh, or normal range. And I think it's going to continue going, assuming sticking to the diet and also the workout routine. So those are tangible. Strength. Definitely, I had to drop weights to get to the form, but now I'm back to the original weights with the proper form. So I would say that that's kind of if I were to compare to what I was doing, it's I've increased in strength. So that's those are tangible results. And intangible, I think, obviously healthier choices, especially when I travel. I know you and I have talked about like, hey, when you're traveling, how do you make sure you're eating the right amount of protein? But now it's like even at the airport, I'll go pick up the Greek yogurt instead of the the sandwich, which has more carbs. The Greek yogurt has the more protein, so it's making those healthier choices, packing nuts and stuff for travel, and then so I think that's kind of intangible energy. You know, waking up with more energy and strength, right? Just overall strength.
Yeah.
I can feel that.
Yeah. So yeah, energy, strength, and yeah, those are big ones. And what would you say you're the most proud of yourself over the past few months? So like, since we started working on this transformation.
I think just sticking with one is obviously consistency, right? I think when you're working out, especially if you're trying to hit certain goals, which are stretch goals, it can get you can by yourself it can be demotivating. Like sometimes you can just kind of get out, like, oh man, do I have to go? But just the consistency, tracking things, I can't emphasize enough. For me, I'm maybe I like science a little bit, so just having that measurement and seeing my body, taking pictures, I think that's been really, really cool to see that. And then,
Yeah.
like I said, I think just the technique, right? Just I see people at the gym now, and I watch them do sets, and I'm like, oh man, you should slow down. And uh,
Yeah.
it's like it's funny to see that. And maybe one of these days I'll go up to them and like, hey, slow down the down.
Yeah. Yeah. I think yeah. So consistency and technique, are two big ones. And
Yeah.
and how well, what would you think is the most important lesson that you've learned about yourself as a process of committing to this journey of yours?
I think because of one big thing is well, one is anyone can do it, so it's not like I can imagine myself having that six pack. So I think that's what we had initially talked about, like six pack. And six pack is aspirational. I'm not saying that that's the only goal. It's more about fitness, but uh, I've never had a six pack. So it's and I think part of it was also the belief system wasn't there. Like, yeah, that's for other folks, they do it. I got a busy life, I got a day job and all this, and I can never. But so now I can see how I can get to that. It's just a few minor adjustments in the diet and things like that. But and it doesn't require a crazy amount of working out 2 hours a day for 7 days a week. It's 4 days a week, but just getting the form right. To me, that is a big change. Like, wow, I have to eat well, and again, doesn't mean that you give up every single snack or whatever. It's like 80-90% eat well, hit the four times a week, and make sure you get the discipline of the form. And now I can see that that's been a big change in the way I see things, enjoying it, right? As a kid, I played a lot of sports. I enjoyed that, but weight training and things were more like a chore. But now it's like enjoying that, like I said, the me time and actually taking the time to do the moving meditation. I like that. I like that phrase. So I think those are
Yeah.
the things that I think really have shifted for me. And then the other thing I will say is that I, I think in the past, when you do these trainings, I felt like, okay, you do it for 3 months, 6 months, 4 months, and then you're kind of. But now I've integrated this into my lifestyle. It's kind of like, eating healthy is not just a 6 month endeavor. It's like a lifelong endeavor. Going to the gym and doing good form is not just a one time. You do it for 4 or 5 months. It's for the rest of my life. And I think that has been a big shift in the way I think about fitness.
Yeah, that's big, and yeah, committing ourselves to longer term goals, into intertwining this with our life, as you said,
Yeah,
and it's not just separate; it is life. Because as you said, the better you feel, the higher levels of quality of performance you're going to create, more output, and higher levels of capacity, more energy. So it's we know everything is linked.
yeah.
And what would you miss the most if you hadn't had this coaching?
I think it would have. I think definitely I would have missed. Well, one is I would have been more in. The injuries may have continued to exasperate, right? I.e., I would have gone through phases where, and I was feeling this, right? For example, bicep curls, I think I was doing it wrong, and my wrist would be hurting. So I had to stop doing that for like, a month. So the injuries were starting to rack up a little bit. Injuries meaning small things that are starting to impede, and you're just feeling it at night or when getting up. So I think that could have it could lead to more serious things. So I think that's one thing that I feel is I've avoided that. So that's one thing. I think if I had not done this, I think the tracking, I wouldn't have realized that tracking it. I had tracked stuff on Fitness Pal in the past, but then I stopped doing it because I was like, oh, I did it for that period of time. But now, having the Fitbit, for example, I would never have bought that, and now it's just part of my daily attire, right? I just put it on, and I check in with it and synchronize things on a weekly basis. So I think those things I would have totally missed, and shifting the mindset that this is not just a one-time thing. It's kind of integrating it into my life. And then again, the community, right? I think connecting with you, not just about this topic, but we talked about Toastmasters and some other peripheral things that are more about life. And being a leader, right? As being a leader in my company, I want to be able to not only speak well, but I also want to look good when I'm in front of people. So those kinds of connecting the full lifestyle, not just fitness, but also connecting it to the other areas would have been missed.
Yeah, that's super important because you know that physical is the start of everything. Because when we feel more confident, that will come out in how, as in body language, right? We know that the majority of body language isn't just what we say; it's about everything else as well. So how you come across in meetings, and yeah, as we aspire further our goals in our careers, and on the career side of things, and like what tips do you have for those who are watching right now? Because you're a busy guy, you travel a lot, like a few days this week already. Like, what tips do
Right.
you have for those who are listening to help us stay on track?
Yeah, one is I think we talked about for travel, for busy schedules, definitely planning ahead. Just making sure meal prep, or even if I'm traveling, like I bought nuts or I bought almonds and I bought like some protein heavy snacks, making sure that that's there in the pantry, right? And those things don't spoil or you put them in the fridge. It's a very easy way to just throw it into your suitcase or bags. I think that's been a big thing of staying in track when I'm traveling or when I'm busy. So I think meal prep is key. The second thing is I uh, my big advice is definitely enjoy the process, right? I think sometimes when we all sign up for weight loss or weight gain or whatever, right, mass muscle gain, it can be daunting, but uh, it can become an enjoyable process looking at the end in mind. So for me, looking at uh, even a picture of myself evolving. I think that for me, taking pictures, I remember the first couple of weeks you had me do that. It was like, oh man, I don't want to take a picture of me shirtless. But over time, it's motivating because I'm like, oh man, I know I didn't eat as well this week and I can see it. and then it's like it reinforces. So I think those are the things. I think taking pictures um, to keep me on track has been very good, and then measurement, like I said, measuring things.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And imagine there was somebody watching this right now. They were on the fence about speaking to me about improving their health. And what is it that you would tell them?
I think if they're on the fence, well, one is, you know, well, firstly, I think you as a coach are great. I think you've never been salesy or pushy about anything. I think what I think I love about how you approach it is, let's look at the bigger picture. What do you want to get out of this, right? And it's the same thing with anything, right? Just I would say to anyone watching this, what's your vision? Like why the fact that you're even considering fitness or having a fitness coach means there's something that you want more out of fitness than what you're getting today. What is that? Defining that. What's the vision? You want the six pack? Do you want weight loss? Do you want to attract a certain kind of partner? Do you want to go do certain things that you can't do, right, because of physical limitations? So making sure you're identifying that, and I think that's the key, just having that discussion. Because once you're in touch with that, that's what I need to get. Then the rest of it is going to be inspired by that why. So I think that's what I think you did well, which is what's the why, right? We can figure out the how and the what needs to be done, but the why I think was great. And I think you did a great job in getting me in touch with that why. Even now, as we're talking about like, hey, what's next? It's like, what's the why? Let's get back to what's going to inspire you for the next level.
Yeah, exactly. And this is an ongoing journey, and we're never there. The journey
Yeah,
always provides another mountain peak. Yeah, and awesome, perfect. Well, thank you, Amit, for letting me interview you and getting your insights over the past few months. It's been a joy. And if you're watching this right now and you're interested in having a chat, just send me a message. Yeah, perfect. So thank you, Amit.
thanks, Nico.
Cool. And that's called it a wrap. Awesome.